In section 7.3, we are going to learn a theorem called the Pythagorean Theorem. Now, you probably don't want to know this, but I'm just going to read this to you anyway. There is a Greek mathematician and philosopher named Pythagoras, and he discovered one of the most famous rules in mathematics. And in mathematics, a rule is called a theorem. So a theorem is just a rule. So the rule that Pythagoras discovered is called Pythagorean Theorem. So this is your key idea. You have to have a right triangle in order to use Pythagorean Theorem. So right now I want you to draw a right triangle. Now in my right triangle I am actually drawing 3 different colored sides. Each of these sides of the right triangle has a special name. Here are the names. The names are as follows. Here's your right angle. The 2 sides that make up that right angle are called your legs. So we have a leg and we have another leg. And those sides are labeled A and B. Now they can be interchanged. So this one right here could be A, but it could also be B. This one could be A or B. But the 2 sides that make the right angle are your A and B. The side across from the right angle, which is the longest side, that is called the hypotenuse, and that has to be C. The hypotenuse is the side opposite the right angle. Once again, the side opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. Tomorrow, I'm going to give you a pop quiz. So the pop quiz is going to ask you, what is the longest side of the triangle called? And you have to write down hypotenuse. So here's what you're going to do with your A, your B, and your C. In words, here is what Pythagorean Theorem says. Pythagorean Theorem says, in any right triangle, you must have a right triangle. The sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs is equal to the square of the length of the hypotenuse. Here's how it looks. The sum of the square of the legs, which are A and B, is equal to the square of the length of the hypotenuse. So your formula that you have to memorize is called A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So in example 1, we're going to find the missing side. So they're going to give you the 2 legs in this problem, 12 meters and 5 meters. We have to find the missing side, which is going to be C. All you do is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So the 2 sides that make the 90 degrees, now if you look here, the 2 sides that make the 90 degrees are 5 and 12. Those are your A and B. It doesn't matter which letter you plug them in for. So we just plug them in. 5 squared plus 12 squared equals C squared. And now you just solve the equation. 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144 equals C squared. 144 plus 25 is 169. Now, to solve, how do you get rid of a square? The inverse operation of squared is the squared root. So that gives you C equals the square root of 169, which is going to be 13 meters. So the missing side is 13 meters. Now make sure that if you found C, which is the hypotenuse, this number should be the biggest. And it is. Example number 2. Draw another triangle. We're going to label 8 feet and 15 feet. Find the missing side. So in this problem, here's our right angle. That means these 2 are our A and B. The third side we need to find is C. So just plug them in. 8 squared plus 15 squared equals C squared. 8 squared is 64, plus 15 squared is 225, equals C squared. 64 plus 225 gives you 289 equals C squared. We now take the square root of that, and that gives you the value of C is 17, and then be 17 feet. Example number 3. Find the missing side. Once again, we have to find C. So let's do 2/5 squared plus 3/10 squared, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 2/5 times 2/5 is 4/25, that's easy. 3/10 times 3/10 is 9/100 equals c squared. I have to get a common denominator. My common denominator of 25 and 100 would be 100. So 25 times 4 gives me 100. So 4 times 4 gives me 16. 16 plus 9 is 25, so I get 25/100 equals c squared. I take the square root of both sides. The value of c, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 100 is 10. 5/10 simplifies into 1/2. So my answer would be 1/2. Example number 4. These are going to be different. Find the missing side. In this problem, this is where you got to just know what you're looking for. This is the side I have to find. Here's the right angle. That means these two sides are your legs. So I am missing either the A or the B. I am given the C. So I'm going to do A squared, I'm going to label that A, plus B squared, which is 3 squared, equals 5 squared. The biggest side, once again, please don't forget this, the biggest side has to be plugged in for C. So that's going to give me A squared plus 3 squared, which is 9, equals 5 squared, which is 25. You have to isolate the A squared, get the A by itself. So I subtract 9 on both sides. A squared equals 16. Take the square root of both sides. That gives me A equals the value of 4. So my answer, my missing side, is 4. Example number 5, find the missing side. This missing side is B, so we're going to plug it in. 16 squared plus B squared equals 34 squared. Once again, these two sides here are the legs because they make the right angle, so A and B. 16 squared is 256 plus B squared equals 34 squared, which is 1,156. I now have to move the 256 by subtracting it on both sides. 1156 subtracted by 256 gives me 900. Take the square root of both sides to get the B by itself. And my answer will be 30 yards. Number 6, the last one that we're going to do of this type. Right angle. Find the missing side. So once again, my right angle is right here, so that means this is your leg, this is your leg, so it doesn't matter which one you let be A or B. So I'll make this side A. A squared plus 2.1 squared equals 2.9 squared. A squared plus 2.1 squared, or 2 1/10 squared, is 4 41/100. 2 9/10 squared is 8 41/100. I subtract 4 41/100 on both sides. A squared equals 4. Take the square root of both sides. A equals 2. Just always remember that you have to take the square root as your last step because you have to get rid of this squared on your variable. The last example we're going to go over is an application problem. Number 7, you are playing capture the flag. You are 50 yards north and 20 yards east of your team's base. The other base is 80 yards north and 60 yards east of your team's base. How far are you from the other team's base? So first off, let's say this is your your base is way down here. You are 50 yards north, so we're going to go up 50 yards north, and then 20 yards east of your base. So 50 yards north, 20 yards east, so that would actually be the ordered pair 2050. And then the other base is going to be 60 yards up, 80 yards north and 60 yards east of your base. So we're going to go up and over, so it's going to be over here. So you then need to figure out this. Now you could graph this on a number line, which actually would make it easier. But notice that you just made yourself an hypotenuse. So we can make a triangle. So make a triangle here by drawing the legs. So you have to find the C. Now A and B are a little different. So let's look at what we have to have here. A, we know that this is the rise, so we have to subtract the y values. 80 minus 50. 80 minus 50 makes this side 30. The x, which is the run, is subtracting your x values. 60 minus 20, that makes this side 40. So I now have to find C. So my ordered pair will be 30 squared plus 40 squared equals C squared. 30 times 30, 30 squared is 900. 40 squared is 1600 equals C squared. 900 plus 1600 is 2500. Take the square root of both sides, and that would make the distance between the base, you and your other base, 50 yards.